I don't think we should ever shake hands ever again, to be honest with you. Not only would it be good to prevent coronavirus disease, it probably would decrease the incidence of influenza dramatically in this country.
Yes, Anthony Fauci saying that we as a civilization on planet Earth would never shake hands again. He also was asked whether there would ever be a time when we would be able to stop wearing masks on airplanes. And he said he thought not. No, he thought that there would never be a time when we would stop wearing surgical masks or whatever on airplanes. And he said that we would never shake hands again. Civilization would move on from shaking hands because of the Wuhan Red Death, which came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, China, which is where Chairman Mao had that photo op where he swam across the river to show how strong he was. Propaganda. But that was Fauci, and all over my neighborhood, I think most of the Fauci signs have been taken down from the front yards and the front windows, but it became a cult-like idol worship, right, with Anthony Fauci. And maybe not so much anymore, but really the left still worships him as though he is a golden god, a deity of some kind. They think that he can hover. He can hover. And we're coming into hour number 3 here. I should mention once again, because it may be conspicuous at this point, we have no phone lines today. Our phone lines are down today, and they appear to be down permanently. I think it's probably the Biden administration somewhere behind the curtain, but maybe not. The phone lines are not down inside of our building, I'm told. They're down out there in the telephone universe, and the telephone company is either working on it or not, depending on the politics of the people involved. So it remains to be seen whether our phone lines will be back up anytime soon. But as of now, we do not have any phone lines. So I can't talk to the nice people. I can't talk to you, which I normally do every day. Now, I want to get back to Anthony Fauci in a minute, because there he was saying we'd never shake hands again. And he also said, we'll probably never be a time when we don't wear masks on airplanes. That I got to tell you, that was disinformation, wasn't it? That misinformation. That's shouldn't he get some kind of a disinformation award of some kind?
They were suggesting that there really isn't much.
Now the phone lines have jumped over to our audio feed.
They were suggesting that there really isn't much of a need for a mask on an airplane. Are we going to get to the point where we won't have to wear masks on airplanes?
I don't think so. I think when you're dealing with a closed space, even though the filtration is good, that you want to go that extra step. Yeah, but as John Carl, he didn't ask the follow-up question, probably, really, forever and ever? Will never be a time? But that's what he said. And since he's considered to be a golden god, but I consider him to be a source of disinformation, because he provided a lot of disinformation. And I should mention, since I was just talking about how Politico's got a piece on Gavin Newsom and his inner circle, and they're parading him around, and Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan is being paraded around. The Democrat Party's looking for someone new. I was on a text thread with friends of mine, former CNN friends. One of them pointed out that the Washington Post today has on their editorial page political cartoon. They have an anti-Biden political cartoon, which is very, very rare. The political cartoon is by Michael Ramirez, who is pro-American, and he's on the side of civilization. So Michael Ramirez has the political cartoon, and it's Joe Biden behind the wheel of a car. It looks like a little electric car. And he's squinting and bearing down on the steering wheel, and it looks like he's driving real fast because he's crashing through street signs that say "do not enter" and "wrong way." And the street signs are flying in the air over the roof of the car that Joe Biden's driving. And there's a terrified Democrat Party donkey in the passenger seat covering his eyes with his cloved hooves. And there are orange street pylons bouncing off of the windshield. And the license plate says Biden,
License plate says Biden. And the little bubble says, 4 more years, ? No problem. Right, so it's an anti-Biden in the Washington Post. Oh, no, not 4 more years. He's going the wrong way. He's going through do not enter. He's crashing through the orange pylons, and he's in a little electric vehicle. And the Democrat donkey is terrified and covering its Democrat donkey eyes with its Democrat donkey cloved hooves. And that's the political cartoon. There's only one editorial page political cartoon every day, and today it's an anti-Biden cartoon. And then the New York Times with Maureen Dowd daring to raise a question about Joe Biden's truthfulness and his decency with the 7th grandchild. And, and then, of course, the Politico with their, hey, take a look at Gavin Newsom and his inner circle. So they're trotting out new ponies, right? Or donkeys, as the case may be. Now, we started out talking about Anthony Fauci here a minute ago. So let's go to soundbite number 9. Number nine. And you know what? I think I'd like to start with number 10. Let's do this a little backward. We'll go from 10 to 9. Because Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is running for the presidency as a Democrat, was on the television last night on the Fox News channel with Jesse Waters. And Jesse Waters was talking to RFK Jr. about COVID and about Fauci. And RFK Jr., who is not in the mainstream of the Democrat Party, and therefore he must be crucified. In fact, I expect Gavin Newsom can release Sirhan at any time with the stroke of a pen, because the Democrat California Parole Board has already granted parole to Sirhan. And all that needs to happen now is Gavin Newsom has to sign it to say, okay, you can walk free. And RFK is doing pretty well. He's in the double digits among Democrats. And that's pretty good for a guy who's coming from the outside like this. But let's go to soundbite number 10. RFK Jr. has 17% of the Democrat vote, and Joe Biden has 64%. Okay, but here is RFK Jr. on the Fox News channel last night talking to Jesse Waters about COVID and Dr. Anthony Fauci.
We only have 4.2% of the globe's population, but we had 16% of the COVID deaths in this country, and that was from bad policy. There's countries that did the opposite of what we did, that provided ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, other early treatments to their populations, and had 1/200th of our death rate. So there are many, many things that we did wrong in this country, and some of those were, I would say, knowingly. That's some of the things that were done by public health officials at that time.
Other countries didn't have lockdowns. Other countries didn't lock down schools. Other countries made ivermectin available. My doctor, when I got the Wuhan the first time, gave me ivermectin, and it knocked it out pretty quick. But the national policymakers like Dr. Anthony Fauci and others in hydroxychloroquine, you may recall as well. And what he started to say is a little hard to hear sometimes. The United States represents 4.2% of the world's population, yet we suffered 16% of the global deaths as a result of COVID, of SARS-CoV-2. And RFK Jr. is paying attention to it. You know, other countries, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. Here, they were dumped on. You were a conspiracy theorist. Twitter would shut you down. Facebook would shut you down. The news channels wouldn't let you on if you talked about these things. And then later on, of course, it turned out that it was very different than what CNN was saying and what the New York Times was saying. Now, let's go to soundbite number 9. Number nine. RFK Jr. talking about Anthony Fauci. And he was asked, well, should Anthony Fauci, given these terrible numbers based on these terrible decisions and terrible national policy, should Dr. Anthony Fauci, who was the HDIC, the head doctor in charge, and he was the policy guy. Now, President Trump is like, well, we already have, Fauci's this big hero. He's the guy in charge. Press conferences at the White House and good old what's her name with the scarves, how quickly we forget. She's vanished from the Deborah Birx. She has vanished from the scene, hasn't she? And I can hardly blame her because she got a little taste of what the spotlight is like these days, and she ran for cover with her crate full of scarves. But here is RFK Jr. last night talking about Dr. Anthony Fauci. Should Dr. Anthony Fauci face consequences for, again, he's supposed to be this global expert, this genius. We have 16% of the deaths worldwide when we have 4.2% of the world's population. And RFK Jr. said it's because of bad policy decisions and restricting or banning the use of certain therapies and drugs, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and others. Locking down schools. Other countries didn't lock down schools, had much better results with children. Should Fauci face consequences?
If there were crimes that he committed, of course, we would, I would tell the Attorney General to prosecute him and not hold off. Do I think that he committed crimes? I think he caused a lot of injury. I think that he, particularly by withholding early treatment from Americans, we racked up the highest death count in the world.
That's all. Other than that, everything went pretty well, right? And then, Governor Gropey McGropeface Cuomo in New York, who got an Emmy for his press conferences where he lied to everybody and doomed untold numbers of primarily elderly people to certain death by setting elderly people, locking elderly people down in facilities where they're sure to get the Wuhan Red Death, and then, of course, restricting the use of therapeutics. Pretty amazing stuff. But RFK Jr. said, well, if there were crimes, I think he caused a lot of injury, he says. Fauci caused a lot of injury because of the policies that he implemented. And that is a fascinating discussion. But, let's go to soundbite number 16. Number 16. Because I want to get into this Gal Luft. Gal Luft is an Israeli-American, and it looks like I can't get into them all right now. But I want to get to Gal Luft because Gal Luft, who is a whistleblower who years ago came forward to sound the alarm on Biden family corruption before he was elected president. And Gal Luft has been charged with dozens of crimes by Joe Biden's, this yesterday. Gal Luft, Israeli-American, has been charged with dozens of crimes by Joe Biden's Justice Department. But Republican members of Congress say that Gal Luft is a whistleblower who has been sounding the alarm on Biden family corruption for years. And now it looks like the Biden Justice Department, the Biden White House, has moved decisively. The chessboard looks very different today than it looked yesterday for Gal Luft because the Biden Justice Department has made a big move, and now Gal Luft is looking at potentially more than 100 years in prison because the left is here, ladies and gentlemen. These aren't liberals. Do you have odors in your home, in your office that are annoying, obnoxious, and you just can't get rid of them? Well, now you can get rid of any stinky odor with the Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier. The Thunderstorm gets rid of strong odors from cooking, cigarette smoke, litter boxes, trash cans, even the mildew that comes from a smelly basement. No match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. The Thunderstorm starts working in a matter of seconds to clear any room of any odor. Plus, there are no expensive filters to buy and replace on a schedule. You don't have to burden yourself with all that stuff. More than 350,000 Thunderstorms already sold. Thousands of 5-star reviews online. I want you to go find these reviews. People rave about it. I've got 2 of them at home myself right now. It works like a champ. And this week, I've got a great deal for you so that you can own thunderstorms and save a lot of money. Right now, you can save $200 American when you buy 3 Eden Pure thunderstorms for whole home protection. Get 3 units for under $200. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com, enter the code Chris. That's EdenPureDeals.com, enter the code Chris. Plus, because you hang with me, you get free shipping too. Come on, beat that with a stick, why don't you? Yeah, speaking of which, so I don't have it with me right now. Somebody sent me a tire thumper that I got yesterday in the mail. You know, it's kind of like a billy club, but it's a tire thumper. It's, I'll explain more later. Yeah, so Gal Luft, Israeli-American. The Biden administration looking to throw him in prison for 100 years, threatening him. They're going to bankrupt him because he blew the whistle on the Biden family. Gal Luft coming up.
They're not doing it because they say they don't want to do it. They're Republicans. They don't like to be told what to do. Right. And we got to break that.
Hey, Chris here with some exciting news. Now you can listen to me live on the WMAL app. Doesn't matter if you're in your car, in the office, on the go. The WMAL app delivers crystal clear around-the-clock news coverage anywhere with cell service or Wi-Fi. So don't miss a second of your favorite shows. Download the WMAL app today on the Apple App Store or at Google Play Store. I've got a short segment here, and I need a little time to let Dr. Gal Luft breathe. So I'll be getting to the audio of Dr. Gal Luft in a couple of minutes now that he's been charged. Ironically, they've charged him with violating FARA, the Foreign Agents Registry Act, which Hunter Biden has been accused of. And they're accusing him of violating FARA for representing China and taking money from China, which Hunter Biden has been accused of. But Biden's Justice Department has now indicted Dr. Gal Luft, an Israeli-American, with violating the FARA Act and with being an agent of China. I wonder if Gal Luft has taken as much money from China as Joe Biden and Hunter Biden have taken from China. It would be interesting to do an apples-to-apples comparison, because the very things that Hunter Biden has been accused of, Gal Luft has now been indicted for. See, the Justice Department can move swiftly when they're motivated to do so, and the motivation is apparently to take down the political enemies of Joe Biden and the Democrat Party. So now Dr. Gal Luft is looking at potentially up to more than 100 years in prison. The Foreign Agents Registration Act, and acting as an agent of China. How ironic is all of that? And I've got recent audio from Dr. Gal Luft coming right up. All right, now, Dr. Gal Luft, G-A-L, it's G-U-L, L-U-F-T. Hey, wait a minute. I was right the first time. I've seen it spelled a couple of different ways. Gal Luft, G-A-L-L-U-F-T, dual U.S. Israeli citizen accused of recruiting and paying former high-ranking U.S. government officials, you see, an advisor to then President-elect Donald Trump. This is who's this, USA Today, on behalf of principals based in China in 2016 without registering in the U.S. as a foreign agent, as federal law requires. This is what Hunter Biden has been accused of, and honestly what Joe Biden is being accused of, too, taking millions of dollars from the Chinese, and as Joe Biden changing policy based on the business relationship that the Biden family has, and 9 or 12 members of the Biden family getting lots and lots of money, including grandchildren who I assume are not doing work for the Chinese government, or Chinese industry, but never mind that. So now the Justice Department, Joe Biden's Justice Department, under the corrupt Merrick Garland, on Monday unsealed charges against the co-director of a Maryland think tank, alleging that he acted as an illegal arms broker and unregistered agent for the Beijing government, while also seeking to help China obtain Iranian oil in violation of U.S. sanctions. These are the charges against him that came out. Now, the problem is that this is a guy, Gal Luft, who came forward years ago to blow the whistle on the Biden family and some of their nefarious business dealings, right? And since then, he's found himself in legal hot water in the United States of America. How could that be? Senator Ron Johnson, the Republican from Wisconsin, one of several prominent Republicans who tout Luft as a whistleblower witness, and James Comer is another one of them as well. Also suggested in a July 9th tweet that the Justice Department case against Luft is connected to his alleged interest in exposing the Biden family's corruption. And Senator Johnson said, the DOJ is trying to silence Dr. Gal Luft from publicly exposing Biden family corruption. Said it very clearly right there. The American people deserve the truth, and Dr. Luft must have the chance to testify before Congress. Congressman James Comer, the Kentucky Republican chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability, also has been heavily touting Dr. Luft as a potential breakthrough witness with incriminating evidence of corruption against the Bidens. But so far, Congressman Comer hasn't revealed specifics. In May, Comer was forced to acknowledge that his House committee had lost track of its whistleblower. And 3 days before the criminal charges were unsealed, that's yesterday, Comer told the conservative Newsmax media outlet that Dr. Luft was, quote, a very credible witness on the Biden family corruption, okay, who provided incriminating evidence to 6 officials from the FBI and the DOJ in a meeting in Brussels, that's in Belgium, in March of 2019. Now, that goes back some time to before Joe Biden becoming president of the United States. And he was already talking to the FBI. And here we are all these years later. And once again, the FBI still has its head wedged into a dark and remote location, forming a conga line with our various corrupt government agencies. According to the indictment, Luft conspired with others in an effort to act within the United States to advance China's interests without registering as foreign agents. Now, again, we know that the Biden family has taken millions of dollars from China and people in China. And have they been acting on behalf of China? Has Hunter Biden, has Joe Biden been acting in the interest of China and China's interests there? It's the Communist Party there, just by the way. And we know we've got the bank receipts. We've seen them, the bank transfers, the LLCs. We have names of the Chinese officials that funneled the millions of dollars into the Biden family coffers. And we know that Hunter Biden did not register as a foreign agent. Certainly Joe Biden didn't register as a foreign agent. And Hunter Biden, I'll just leave it at Hunter for the moment, has been accused of violating the Foreign Agents Registration Act and also accused of, taking money and acting on behalf of Communist China and Chinese interests. Joe Biden has been accused of about as much as well. But here we go. Gal Luft comes forward in 2019. It's now 2023 to blow the whistle on the Biden family, having to do with them taking money from China. And, of course, just as an aside, not registering as foreign agents, violating the FARA Act. And then, the Biden family has the power now, and Gal Luft does not. They control the Justice Department. The Attorney General works for the president. And so not only do they charge him with a slew of crimes that could put him in prison for 100 years, but they charge him with the same crimes that they've been accused of involving the same country China. And isn't that interesting? Just a coincidence, I'm sure. Nothing to see here. Move it along. Let's go to Morning Joke, because Morning Joke is a gang of lunatics, mental cases. They Morning Joke himself, Mo Yarborough, used to be a Republican congressman from Florida. Then that young lady died mysteriously in his office, remember, falling and smashing her head or something, and nothing to see there. And now he's married to his third wife, the semi-inflatable flotation device of a third wife, Mika Brzezinski, whose father was the disastrous Zbigniew Brzezinski of the Jimmy Carter administration. But never mind that. And they also had Jabba the Hutt on. They had from the Washington Post. And this morning, they woke up to attack anyone that might blow the whistle on the Biden family and to just make stuff up. We have a section of Morning Joke and Inflatable Mika and Eugene Robinson, who sounds like he's tape slowed down. He also sounds like Vincent D'Onofrio, right, in Men in Black, as the alien guy cracks his neck and stuff like that. So this was Morning Joke this morning attacking Dr. Gal Luft.
He lied to the feds about engaging in, I think it's Chinese espionage. He lied about being an arms dealer. He lied about...
Pause this for a second. He's guilty. Note that throughout this fake discussion by these corrupt people, that Dr. Gal Luft is guilty of everything until proven otherwise, right? Because this is the left. I've been pointing this out for years now. Everyone is guilty until proven innocent, unless you're a lefty, in which case you're being railroaded. This morning on MSDNC.
Illegally smuggling Iranian oil to the Chinese Communist Party.
How do you do that?
He is a fugitive on the run from the law. And this Comer guy,
like Roman Polanski,
says that we should feel foolish because they've got a really credible witness here.
Joe, the shame, the humanity. How could we have doubted? How could we have doubted Congressman Comer?
Right. How could we have doubted Eugene Robinson of the Washington Post? And they're smug and sneering, snarling liberal leftist apparatchiks of the Democrat Party, MSDNC, attacking anyone that might pose a danger, present a threat to Joe Biden and the Democrat Party. Again, they've got the Treasury Department stonewalling on all of the suspicious activity reports, financial transactions involving the Biden family, the bank receipts, the money coming from China, the emails in the Hunter Biden laptop, which they sought to cover up and successfully did so on the lead up to Election Day, the FBI involvement in tamping the story down at Twitter and at Facebook. Nothing to see here. Morning Joke this morning.
Comer has really proven, even in the constellation of crazy House Republicans trying to investigate and pin something on the Biden, anything, Comer has actually distinguished himself as I think the worst at this point. He is really incompetent at this, and they should have picked somebody else.
Now, what normally happens in these circumstances is that a year from now, you learn that everything that he said was 100% true, and here are the documents. And in fact, he's already put out many of the documents, but the Washington Post and Eugene Robinson don't follow the news. They have no interest in the truth. They have only an interest in shoring up the party, the Democrat Party. And Eugene Robinson, for a very long time, has just been a dishonest man, and I could bring out 100 different articles of his that turned out to be terribly, terribly wrong, and were obviously wrong at the time. And then we've got Morning Joke and the crowd there. And what do? They attack. They change the subject and attack. So that's what it is, snarling and smearing, and not trying to get to the truth and hold the feet to the fire of our political leaders. Now let's go to Dr. Gal Luft. who did, and I believe that this audio came from the New York Post, because the rest of the media actually has no interest in finding out anything that might be detrimental to Joe Biden and or the Democrat Party. But the New York Post did interview him, and Dr. Gal Luft has a few things to say about himself. He said he's never sold a bullet in his life. He's never been involved in any of that. He's never been, what they're accusing him of. And never has, over the course of the last several years, has the cast at morning joke behaved that way when it comes to Hunter Biden, and where the emails, the documents, the hookers who are Russian, by the way, the Chinese business deals flying there on Air Force Two, the millions of dollars from China going into the Biden family coffers. This is not in doubt. These are not questions. These things have been established. Dr. Gal Luft.
My name is Dr. Gal Luft. For the past 20 years, I have been the co-director of the Institute for the Analysis of Global Security, a Washington-based think tank focused on energy security. For the past 15 years, I've been a resident of Israel. And for 4 years, I was senior advisor to the China energy company CFC, at the same time of its dealings with the Biden family. Under normal circumstances, I would be testifying before Congress about my experience with CFC. Sadly, due to circumstances I shall describe here in this video, I am forced to tell you this story via video.
Via video. You blew the whistle on Biden. Well, Biden has a lot of power. And, as we know, the Democrat to English translation dictionary, if you look up power, the definition number one is something to be abused, to benefit yourself. Once again, the company is CEFC, the Chinese company that paid the Biden family lots of money. CEFC, the Chinese energy company, is what he's talking about here. He's got an accent, sounds like CFC. He's talking about CEFC, the Chinese energy company that the Biden family is involved with. Dr. Gal Luft.
My ordeal goes back to a fatal decision I made in March of 2019 to share with the U.S. government my knowledge about the Biden family's relations with CFC. As I said, it was in March of 2019 in a 2-day session at the U.S. Embassy in Brussels. I insisted that the meeting take place in March because at the time there were rumors that Joe Biden was planning to run for president. I saw it as my civic duty to alert the government beforehand and give it enough time to probe the issue.
Sounds like a good idea, socially responsible thing to do. Very important that the truth be known. He did the right thing in March of 2019, and now his chickens are coming home to roost because Biden is corrupt.
Mr. Donahue confirmed to my lawyer that he was aware of my claims, but now we learn from the IRS whistleblower that it was Rich Donahue himself who suspended the investigation a few weeks earlier on September 4th, 2020, on the grounds that it was, quote, too close to the elections. Finally, in February this year, I was arrested in Cyprus on an extradition request from the Southern District of New York, the very same office that met with me in Brussels. The 7-count indictment said I violated the Arms Export Control Act, and if I convicted, I would face up to 100 years in prison.
Up to 100 years in prison. Now, if you go back and look on Al Gore's amazing internet, you'll find this Washington Post story from March 30th of 2022, last year, now more than a year ago. Inside Hunter Biden's multi-million-dollar deals with a Chinese energy company. A Washington Post review confirms key details and offers new documentation of Biden family's interaction with Chinese executives. Biden family, you see. And they explain that over the course of 14 months, the Chinese energy conglomerate that he's talking about, CEFC, paid $4.8 million to entities controlled by Hunter Biden and his uncle, James Biden, Joe Biden's brother. This is the Washington Post, right? They're fluffers for the Biden family and administration and for the Democrat Party. Gal Luft.
Why won't the DOJ make my indictment public? Do it. Make my day. Put it on your website so that every American can see the nature of the allegations against me, the quality of the evidence, and the length the government is willing to go to weaponize the justice system to punish whistleblowers like me.
That's Dr. Gal Luft. He's been charged by Biden and his corrupt Justice Department. He blew the whistle years ago, and the FBI once again has its head wedged into some dark and remote location. But when it came time to act on behalf of the Biden family once again, well, and then the media jumps in. You see their role in all of this. Boy, it's good to be a Democrat, huh? All right, United States Senator Tommy Tuberville is taking all kinds of slings and arrows from the corrupt news media today because he is holding up Pentagon promotions and appointees, including the Commandant of the Marine Corps, which has the... well, actually, let's go to Senator Tuberville first, because he's explaining that the Secretary of Defense has violated the law by implementing policy that he's not authorized to implement, having to do with giving members of the U.S. military leave and paying for transportation to go get abortions. And Senator Tuberville says, well, that's not actually legal, and the Secretary of Defense does not have the authority to do that.
The only power we have is to put a hold on something. And so we thought that this would get the attention of the Secretary of Defense. I told him back in December, now, if you do this, I'm going to put a hold on all your admirals and generals. I didn't hear from him for 2 months. He put the order through, just through a memo instead of a law. He changed it. That's unlawful. To make it law, you've got to go through Congress. And we're trying to teach them that you cannot legislate from the Pentagon.
Well, that seems reasonable enough. I don't think you should be able to legislate from the Pentagon. And once again, the news media going bat guano crazy. Tuberville blockade over abortion policy threatens top military promotions. Well, maybe you should look at what the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, is doing and whether that is allowed within the laws of the United States of America. But the New York Times is, in the meantime, furious.